welcome, and everyone else. Everyone else, I mean everybody. We've not recorded one of these for a while. Lockdown has been kicking our ass, but we are back. Me and Matt have finally sat here in person. I can touch him. I can touch you. we haven't got the video on, so no one can see me, but me and Matt were just touching each other. That sounded wrong.
Yeah, amazing. Your words, not mine.
That is not what I wanted to say at all.
Yeah.
Intros are great. If anyone wants to know how we do this, when we first started recording these, we would sit here and painstakingly script everything. We would script the intros and everything, and then it would take about 40 takes before we're happy with something. Now I sit here and say, me and Matt are touching each other, and I'm going to publish it, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whatever. So, how are you? Matt, are you living the life? You good?
I'm good, yeah. It's just nice to be out of lockdown, sort of.
Yeah, it's getting there. Things are opening up and life is...
Nature is healing.
It's healing for us to come out and then make it worse. But yeah, we're going to start off our return with a look at Project Cars. Now, if anyone's played the Project Cars series, they would have known Project Cars 1 and Project Cars 2 was very, would you say simulation heavy?
Yes, it was leaning towards more of a sim-heavy racing game.
Yeah, it was a lot heavier on the old sim. And then 3 came out and... What the fuck was that about?
Yes, talk about heel turns.
Yeah, what on earth? Everyone just kind of... Yeah, what? So... Me and Matt are going to dissect it, because...
Yeah, it's a living autopsy.
Exactly. You're here. So sit down, make a brew, and this is what the hell happened to Project Cars. So, let's kick right off into it. I think the best way we're going to line this up is if we pretty much compare 1, 2 and 3. 1 and 2 you can kind of group together. I would say that's fair to do.
Yeah.
And then
3's kind of gone off piece.
Its own dodgy little cousin. Yeah. Its own odd cousin that you don't really speak to.
Called Julian.
Called Julian. You don't really... There's on Christmas you kind of do the courtesy. Oh, you doing? You're still great. So 1 and 2. Simulation all to the hills. Like, I remember 1 because I was really looking forward to 1, but I didn't really know much about it. I don't know why I was excited. I just knew it was a racing game, so whatever.
Yeah.
And I picked it up, and I remember doing the go-karts, and I remember being so hard.
Like, it was hard.
I just remember being so difficult on the go-karts.
It was driving on ice.
Yeah, it was so difficult. Like you'd hit a curb and it would just go off.
Yeah.
And it would I remember driving sort of like it wasn't Formula 1, but it was like it was a
sort of like GP Formula 2 or something.
It was something like that, and you'd put the foot down and the car would just slide, and it was like nothing you'd played before because it was so difficult. The only time you'd kind of get around it is if you played a game without any assists, and that's how you be acclimatised to it.
Yeah.
2 was quite similar, wasn't it? You played 2 a lot more than I did.
2. Yeah, 2 I think was a bit more controller friendly in a sense, but still like sort of built upon the sort of the serious sim racing side of things. There were a couple of like sort of little silly things. Like I remember one car which was just like anything you could do with it, it would just not work. Like brakes, just slide. Didn't make sense.
I remember the Genettas and the Clios being fun.
Yeah,
because they were as near to real life sort of Genettas and Clios as you could get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I'd least remember. I remember sort of doing the Jettas and not really getting much further because I didn't really want to progress past the Genettas.
It was your happy place.
Yeah, I just remember Project Cars feeling quite soulless because you'd do qualifying and then there was no pits, was there? Like you could go in the pits, but there was no animation. You just sit there.
Yeah, you're just saying want fresh tires, and it just did it behind the scenes. It wasn't really fully fledged like if you played like the F1 games or that kind of stuff. So it
Yeah.
was a bit like, ugh.
I remember doing a race, and it was saying, "Oh, you got to jump in the pits, and you'd sit there, and nothing would happen, and then you'd drive out with your new tyres, and it's like,
okay,
okay, right, it's a bit, right, okay, but yeah, it wasn't terrible. It just didn't really grab me in the same way as your likes of Forza did, and your likes of the first one, I suppose.
yeah,
And then 3 came along, and
yeah.
what the fuck?
3 was weird because I mean.
Again, that's something else that you played a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, way back when, because Slightly Mad Studios did a couple of games for the Need for Speed franchise, particularly Need for Speed Shift, which for the series itself was like a bit of sort of his own dodgy cousin because it did like serious racing. I mean,
Shift was good though, but it was just weirdly out of place.
Yeah.
It fell in with the. Do you remember the recording that we did of Dirt? And when I said about Dirt Showdown, and it was like if Dirt Showdown had a different name, it would have worked a hell of a lot better. And I feel like Shift is in the same bag.
Yeah, I think yes, because like Shift. I mean, I love Shift. It was a great little game. Even Shift 2 was really, really good. But like Project Cars 3 will sort of return to it, which was a bit weird when you did 2 games that was
Simulation
to going back to sort of more sim-cadey, maybe arcadey.
It was kind of like Grid in a way, because it kind of dropped off all the simulation and then just kind of tried making it arcadey. It was almost like it was inspired like the Grid reboot, but the Grid reboot was wank. The nicest way
That's
possible.
an understatement.
Yeah, that's kind of at least the vibe I got from it. It was just really weird. Like, it was just so strange.
It was weird. I mean, it's still an okay racing game, but as I was saying, it was just a weird off-piece game that just didn't know what it wanted to be. Whereas the first 2 games, it wanted to be sim racing game. Whereas this one, it was like, I don't know what you really are.
It was kind of like in between loads of different genres. It was kind of like a bit arcadey and a bit simmy. But the sim was just completely diluted in it.
Yeah.
And it was really... Project Cars 3 was just so hollow to me. Like, I did not play it for long. I think about an hour I played it for before I gave up. I probably should have given it longer, using my XMVR journalistic integrity. Should have given it longer, but fuck it. I've got things to do.
Yeah. I mean, Project Cars 3 had some nice bits. I mean, I like the car customization. I mean, where you could turn like sort of a Honda Civic into like sort of an impromptu touring car with like whatever sponsorship liveries and all that, which was really quite.
But that just reminded me of Grid 2.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Because remember Grid 1 was the whole... Oh, I'm trying to remember it now. It was the tiered system, and then it was like every different like race discipline, and it was great. And then Tier 2, Grid 2 came out, and then there was this weird... It was a lot more arcadey, and it was a lot more customisable.
Yeah, and a bit more story focused, if I remember.
A little bit, yeah. It just kind of reminds me of that in a abstract kind of way.
Yeah.
I just can't get my head around what the hell happened with Project Cars. It was kind of like they saw what was working with other games. They saw kind of like Burnout when they go, yeah, okay, it's over the top, it's crazy, whatever.
Yeah.
They saw Grid reboot and went, yeah, it's a reboot, whatever, and I just feel like they kind of went, well, those things are popular in a way, let's just do that. And it just seems like it just did not have its own identity. It gave away its identity of being a serious sim racer.
Yeah.
And made itself be as generic as it comes. And generic doesn't always mean good. Generic is safe, and safe doesn't mean good either.
Yeah. But then referring back to a point you made earlier, if it was called Project Cars Shift 3, you wouldn't battle either. And alright, fair enough.
100%. You are bang on. It's true though, or if it was, a spin-off, Project Cars The Redemption, shit like that.
The Redemption, Jesus Christ. Starring Tom Cruise
I'm
and Vin Diesel.
just flicking through my Ubisoft naming revelations. Well, there was a Shift Unleashed, wasn't there?
Shift
Unleashed.
That was Shift 2.
Yeah.
Unleashed.
You're making a joke of it, but it's happened.
Yeah.
If it was Project Cars Unleashed or whatever, it would make a hell of a lot more sense. You're like, it's a spin-off. Okay, it's a spin-off, which was what Dirt Showdown was.
Yeah.
It wasn't called Dirt whatever it was at the time, Dirt 3, Dirt 4.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it earned a little bit of leeway, I find. But it was just so odd. I mean, the next thing I have sort of in my head for Project Cars was the handling model completely swapped, didn't it?
Yeah, it was completely changed overnight. Like it was like literally like anyone, like you could control it like easy. It was like piss easy. You didn't have to really work with it compared to like 1 or 2.
1 or 2, you had to really think about what you were doing. There was an element of feeling like you're building up a racing career. Where 3, it just felt like you're doing mind-numbing sort of race after race, and you don't have to think about it. Whereas the others, it was an actual racer. You're thinking about where you are. You're thinking about braking. You're thinking about your acceleration. In case the car fucks off. In case it spins out.
Yeah, you had to really think about it. Whereas Project Cars, like literally, you could just switch your brain off and just go laugh.
That's what. And then that leads it back to it was generic as hell for the sake of selling its own identity. And it baffles me, and because again, this is using my very limited knowledge of, because there's a lot more your expertise, but it's a very limited knowledge of the tracks and stuff. Because then they get rid of a lot of licensed tracks, if not all of them.
I think 3. Like they still had a few around. You still had like Silverstone, Le Mans, and all that kind of like stuff, and they had through a couple of new ones. I think Interlagos was one of them.
Right.
And I think like DLC, I think they've chucked in like Yas Marina, Bahrain, one other in America, which I can't remember from the top of my head. And I think they're adding Zandvoort soon.
Right.
So there is still an influx of like some really like sort of like licensed track, which is great.
Yeah.
But then another point to it is that Project Cars 3 was actually one of the few games that actually has up-to-date Formula E cars, as an example.
Yeah.
And I don't understand like why they haven't actually tried to get some more Formula E tracks. I mean,
If they've got the license for them, why not?
Yeah.
It's like that Motorsport Manager game. That's like heavily licensed by Formula E. And they had events on it that you were racing on like actual Formula E tracks.
I think Berlin was one of them.
I think so. Did you play it?
Yes, I did play it. Yeah, the actual track, which was cool at the time. Which was cool. It was using the license, whereas Project Cars, I mean,
yeah, it just seems like it was. If you're going to license something like Formula E, you got to go all the way. What's the point in just having the cars if you're just going to use them on generic ass tracks?
Yeah,
that's always been my head mind. Like use Assetto Corsa, the new British GT DLC. That's got the GT cars from last season?
Last season, yes.
And they've updated tracks as well. So there's Brands Hatch, Alton Park, Snetterton, Donington. I think Snetterton might have been a lie, actually. Don't quote me on that.
I think but they added a couple of tracks in, so you actually have the whole British GT series.
Yeah. For some reason, Thruxton For some reason, they just can't get Thruxton. I don't know why. I think it's the ownership. Must be. Hope so. But use that. They've licensed that. The GT cars, so they've got the GT tracks, so it makes sense. So they complement each other.
Yeah,
but why haven't they done that? It's odd.
Yeah, something just doesn't add up, really.
It's the multiplayer as well for Project Cars. If we're just kind of shifting along, is a ghost town already. I know that.
That died a death like within.
Didn't it die straight away?
Practically, yeah. I think everyone got to think, and I went, it's just. Yeah, I'll get back to Project Cars.
Yeah. I remember it kind of being nothing. I remember seeing It might have been a dev, it might have been somebody on their socials that were trying to play it online, and they're like, oh, well, let's get into lobbies, and the lobbies had like 6 people in them. And that was not long after they released, and it was, it was just like, well, if it's looking like this now, then fucking hell.
Me could probably beat up my Xbox and probably see you.
Yeah, 100% that. It's how do you fix a problem like Project Cars? You go back to your roots.
I think that's what they've done. I can't remember the dev from the top of my head. I think it was someone who's working on the next Project Cars, and apparently they're going like bringing out the big guns, like they just got the scan tracks and that kind of stuff, which is promising to see. But it's that kind of sense of apprehension that you spend 2 games heel turning and you heel turning again.
It's almost admitting that it's gone nowhere. It's like starting it and then trying something new and then going, well, fuck, I'll go back to simulation. So it kind of makes you think then, so you know it's a misstep then.
Yeah.
Like, if you were speaking to them, you would go, well, it hasn't worked. Like, because it's so different from the other two.
Yeah.
I appreciate you've got to try things. You've got to try and keep it fresh.
Yeah.
But it was just so bizarrely different.
Yeah, it was just a complete change. It wasn't like subtle changes, like here and there. It was like completely overhauled.
Yeah.
Completely different game.
But yeah, maybe we'll see when Project Cars 4 come out, and then we'll see which way it learns. Maybe they'll listen to us. You never know.
Yeah, I mean,
we've predicted things right in the past. Don't forget.
Yeah, we have. Darren predicted that Forza Horizon 4 was going to be in the UK.
Yeah, there's still an element that you're going to be right.
Yeah.
About Forza Horizon 5, but that we'll
talk another time.
We'll see what happens. There's rumours that's another video recorded.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap this Project Cars project up. Like what we said, don't like what you said, tell us in the comments. We like to read them.
The more violent, the better.
Oh, well, I'm the moderator, so maybe not.
Yeah, just send them to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, don't forget to give us a like, share, follow. All the we haven't recorded in so long. I'm struggling to remember them all, but do all the usual YouTube gubbins.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will see you in the next one. Toodaloo.